This individual recently returned from military duty. His girlfriend has been anticipating this moment to finally meet him. This guy definitely has his priorities in order. He hardly glances at her and simply dashes right by, directly to his room, since his brand new gaming capsule awaits him there. Prior to enlisting in the army, he ranked as the top hardcore player in an extremely challenging game, one that ultimately faced closure. However, a new comparable game has just dropped and he is eager to explore it, gaining access to the character creation in a game world. The scene is ready. He swiftly transforms into a badass center part hairstyle and presents his name as Kaiser. He has now entered the apocalyptic battlefield, serving as the tutorial stage. The VR visuals are incredible. However, a weapon is required first. Kaiser selects a sword and encounters Charlie, the Captain Knight, who brings the mercenary to face the battle. The outlook is bleak. Charlie is afraid that disaster will strike if they fail to halt the monsters. Suddenly, they are confronted by arrows and fierce beasts. Yet, before the knight finishes his words, Kaiser enters directly and destroys each one, being in view. Although I'm new to this game, he's showing off on these hyena-faced bastards to return them to the jungle. He constantly feared that his abilities had diminished over time, yet he solely feels more buoyant on his feet. The knight captain stares at him, activating the favorability system in the game similar to the earlier version. The captain has such confidence in him that he wouldn't even mind if our boy were to commit a crime now, granting him the title of the Affection Max. Next, they must defeat a dark sorcerer within the gate. When unexpectedly additional monsters lurk within the castle walls, Charlie plans to maintain the stance and instructs the hero to halt the summoner, leaving the future in our son's hands. Even Kaiser is astonished that this knight is rushing forward to confront the mob, when he should actually assist you in defeating the boss. His conduct is expected to adapt according to a user's actions. But what's hidden on the other side? This door has a genuinely sinister aura, to the extent that even the system alerts him. Kaiser instantly realizes this is a concealed component, a purposely hidden mechanism that demands immediate conditions to be satisfied. He's excited to face the challenges that lie ahead. Thus, the door swings open, but rather than a dark sorcerer, a colossal beast stands before him. A creature bound in chains, lured by a crimson-red glow. The iron-blooded demonic dragon encounters its next prey. Kaiser is filled with dread as he faces off against a legendary boss immediately at the begin. This new game took various elements from the earlier Demlock. One source of inspiration is the system that categorizes ranks as normal, rare, heroic, and legendary, also referred to as the tier system. The tier system is applicable to all boss monsters at each level, with the most notable being the unique monsters that possess their own specific names assigned to them. As you might be suspecting, this frightening-looking creature is indeed one of those dragons, a designated boss character. It harnesses an immense burst of energy and unleashes an overwhelming force. This immense pressure overwhelms the player, triggering the system to display various screens, informing him of the dragon species classification and the reduction of his own physical capabilities. All movement-related activities have decreased by 20 to 25%. At this moment, our boy is simply questioning what on earth the game developers were thinking when they included this element in the game. The sole redeeming quality of this oversized lizard is its role as a controlled boss monster. However, even a single strike from its paw will send you straight to the Shadow Realm. Kaiser has encountered similar situations before in Demlock. His opponents were terrifying boss monsters, leaving him with just one option available: the decision to kill or be killed. The fierce player unsheathes his sword and evades the initial blow, a strike that shatters the earth. He dodges to his right prior to lunging back into the battle with a sweeping strike, delivering the dragon, a type of dragon. Another roar triggers the creature to daze him once more. Kaiser understands he's on the verge of being crushed. He responds to the paw with a sword strike, only to be pushed several feet back from the collision. He pauses for a moment. It's important to recognize the extent of damage he's inflicted. Out of 1,000,000 life points, he has only reduced it by 120. In simpler terms, he must secure it or he risks ending up on a plate. Given the tutorial boss, it's the most challenging difficulty imaginable. Kaiser strikes the dragon again. While recalling the outrageous remarks he encountered on the forum regarding this dragon. Supposedly, even the top players in this game failed to defeat the beast. But our boy is really showing off with these slashes. An increasing number of comments rush into his mind as he wields his sword to parry and bring the dragon down with each blow. Notably, the remarks highlighted the way the name of the demonic dragon species was disclosed. Many players believed it was a glitch, while others were completely baffled. The truth was that someone had finally triumphed over the tutorial boss monster for the very first time. Piercing the dragon's talon, he torments the creature with continuous slashes. Kaiser truly adopts a Levi Ackerman Beyblade approach, relentlessly slicing the creature across its entire body. And indeed, the dragon is brought down, designating him as the inaugural individual to conquer a legendary boss during the tutorial. He will receive a reward for it soon. For the moment, Kaiser is here, panting and utterly exhausted, frustrated by how obstinate this damn boss was. Drawing his sword, he emphasizes the fact that he is the inaugural player to defeat the boss. He even surpassed some of his former friends, who believed the beast was invincible during the tutorial phase after all. For the moment, Kaiser is wondering how his friends are managing during this time. Regarding his reward, he earns the title of the inaugural Slayer and activates various traits for his gameplay. The initial one is the Weapon Master, followed by the Hidden Dragon. The third is Slayer, the fourth is Hero, fifth is Overcome. Every one of their requirements has been fulfilled, revealing a stronger ability known as the Eye of Truth. And simply from the initial impression, Kaiser is astonished that he received so many in just one battle. Typically, a single trait is awarded to each player in an average tutorial. Let's discuss traits briefly. They represent one of the unique systems within this game, ranging from various categories such as Guide and Sword Master. Certain advanced ones are granted solely based on performance outcomes. At present, Kaiser's statistics have almost doubled, and his sword effects have risen along with several other enticing enhancements. He gazes at the unique feature, enabling him to perceive what is typically concealed. It's an ambiguous influence. Certainly, Weapon Master and Hero Slayer are excellent traits individually, yet they lack uniqueness. A small number of individuals within the player community will inevitably exhibit these characteristics. But, regarding a distinctive ability such as the Eye of Truth, this item is truly one of a kind. In summary, this individual has struck gold with this pull, receiving numerous rewards and accomplishing a remarkable feat. The title he earned grants him unique abilities to inflict 10% more damage on boss monsters. At this moment, Bro believes he's experiencing a luxurious lifestyle, particularly since he often faced terrible luck in the last game, similar to my experience each time I open a case in Counter-Strike. Regardless, he watches the door swing open. It's truly Captain Charlie, battered and bruised. The man is shocked to discover the player, and inquires whether Kaiser truly succeeded in defeating the monsters by himself. The captain can't comprehend how this guy isn't seriously hurt, leading him to wonder what kind of god-tier player he truly is. He decides against exploring Kaiser's background, noting that heroes often emerge during periods of complete turmoil, suggesting that this man's existence itself symbolizes hope in the situation. World. This cheesy game dialogue is putting our boy to sleep, as this man receives. On his knees, he begged the hero to grant him a chance to become his even. The system clarifies that his intention is genuine, and as a result, he will become Kaiser's subordinate. Our son is amazed by the proposal. However, Charlie has already passed away in that version of the game, thus no unique advantages will be offered. The tutorial clearly emphasized that this event occurred in the past. Believing it's merely a pointless formality, Kaiser instructs the captain to act as he wishes. His statements are seen as an agreement, granting him the captain's backing. The man will now drift into a peaceful sleep, wishing for a brighter future. Kaiser pays attention to those words, as the system indicates his imminent return to the Pantheon. A magnificent portal materializes just behind him, signaling the end of the tutorial phase. Prior to his departure, the knight shouts to his master, inquiring about their next location to head. Reflecting on it for a moment, Kaiser replies that they will go wherever necessary, since this world is chaotic. The knight feels thrilled by this reply, acting as if bro just cited Socrates or something. The warping procedure begins with a timer set for 5 seconds. The captain gives him an artifact just before the countdown ends, and in his last remarks, Charlie grins and expresses gratitude to his lord, seeking rescue. Kaiser is promptly returned to the Pantheon following this sequence, greeting him at a place where a player selects a deity and sets in motion a journey toward their blessings. He appreciates the renowned Pantheon design. However, it is often regarded as a typical gacha room. This very location causes numerous players to cry or rejoice based on their fortune, as the gacha god oversees their luck. Since a player can worship only one god, their journey is determined by that choice. In this game, all elements are categorized into tiers, including the gods, which are fable, hero, and mythic. Fable gods are entities that attain divinity through stories shared in ancient eras. Heroic deities are those who aided humanity's welfare, leading to their elevation. Ultimately, there are legendary deities, the ones accountable for whole mythologies like Zeus or Odin, from their individual mythological traditions. As anticipated, mythological gods represent the top tier. Every floating card in this realm holds a distinct deity, enabling him to select one. Given that our protagonist's luck is rather poor, he isn't particularly invested. However, what astonishes him most is the presence of a radiant golden card among the pause. Engaging his eye of truth, Kaiser abruptly understands he can utilize this skill to view what lies behind any card. This is where this skill becomes exceptionally powerful, as he will accurately determine which gacha pull is optimal and leverage that to his benefit. The very teammates who claimed he had the worst luck, they affected his emotions, as it consistently left him feeling downcast. However, circumstances have shifted. He can now officially transform into a formidable ranker. Kaiser can hardly hide his enthusiasm and appears quite silly since bro is aware he has already triumphed. Henceforth, he resolves to focus solely on the golden cards for his personal advantage. He picks up the initial card, glowing with golden light, having summoned the one-armed sword deity Tyr. It's a legendary attraction, which makes it thrilling. However, concurrently the system emits an unusual message. It seems Kaiser is not yet eligible to be Tyr's apostle, so he is encouraged to draw a card again. Bro is in tears, wondering why he can't become an apostle at all. Even the mythical god is taken aback by this unexpected revelation. This is an unusual event. He has never encountered a player with a similar experience. The term vessel remains in his memory due to, usually, whenever a user is slain by the demon lord spawn, the goddess imparts a revelation to them. The issue is that bro killed the spawn, preventing the goddess from showing up. In summary, bro is facing the consequences of his success by defeating the tutorial boss and missing out on the goddess's blessing. Kaiser reviews his system statistics but discovers nothing. The apostle section is entirely absent, simply labeling him as just an adventurer. This puts him in a tough spot, forcing him to think about his next action. He essentially drew an Egyptian god card from Yu-Gi-Oh!, but now he can't even call it forth. All the cards will have the same message, bringing him down to his knees, once again a victim of his terrible luck. Our boy is unsure of his next step, as even if he removes this character and restarts the game, he will face a 2-month waiting period. Suddenly, his gaze shifts to the right, catching sight of an unusual card radiating with a vibrant, pulsating red energy. This card is distinct in its nature, as he has never encountered it before. Upon choosing the concealed card, he retrieves the overlooked final adventurer, Cassiar, fulfilling the criteria to be this man's apostle. Kaiser's world radiates red as he realizes this moment is unique. It's a concealed element unknown to everyone. Upon verification, the system includes his class as the final adventurer on his stat sheet, granting him assistance from humanity's ultimate warrior, whipping red energy spirals into his body, gaining a distinct capability to utilize skills without any class limitations, which is incredibly overpowered. Disregarding class disparities, our boy can now repeatedly use anything from any class, so he can acquire all the essential skills required to create a specialized skill tree. With the Eye of Truth, he can predict the types of skills he will acquire, and merging them with the Weapon Master trait will enhance his already formidable power even further. As a result, this individual will evolve into a formidable master, a versatile expert devoid of any vulnerabilities. Having finished the advancement process, the system plans to transport him to Avtartal within 5 seconds. Kaiser feels thrilled and finally has motivation to put in effort during a game. He beams as his aspirations of becoming a ranker have been rekindled again. In Avtartal, we reach the city of origins, Arde. The players are moping over a disappointing gacha, but some others are content since combat classes aren't the sole focus of this game. The ecosystem is vibrant with various participants. However, within this group, there are also the scouts, the men in those stylish suits. They are indeed seeking skilled individuals for their guilds, yet in reality, they are seen as quite bothersome. One of the scouts feels frustrated and is eager to meet his hiring quota, fearing that his boss will be furious if he doesn't. However, they spot a guy in the distance who catches their interest. At first sight, they believe the child has lost his mind and see no reason to employ him. As they walk by him, our boy is genuinely appreciating a new piece of gear he equipped, the Necklace of Blood and Covenant. It's a hero-grade artifact offering various options for utilization. Once more, this man senses an overwhelming wave of good fortune. The sensation is incredibly delightful. An unexpected alert appears. It's a goblin cleanup mission, the initial task he must tackle as a participant. However, he isn't alone. The others are also instructed to eliminate 40 goblins as part of a hunting quest. Excitement fills the air as a mustachioed little person named Hunter Dante delegates the task of defeating goblins to the players. Instantly, their first reaction is to shout for others to join them in forming groups. Kaiser observes this aspect. Indeed, one group also approaches him, conveying their wish to reach level 12 through grinding. An archer and a mage appear quite relaxed based on their expressions. Generally, hunting becomes significantly simpler when you engage in it as a. Joining a party is essential in this game, as any extra bonus experience is beneficial. Adopting that perspective, Kaiser consents to join them, forming the Shield Best group under the leader's banner. A player inquires if he's a supporter of Kaiser for mentioning his name, the same individual who previously held the top rank in Demrock during the earlier days. They believe he's merely a top fan of the ranker for adopting that name, unaware that our guy is genuinely the authentic article. This is akin to questioning Michael Jackson about his identity. Regardless, the crew is eager to rush and reach level 12, and even our guy is excited to contribute as much as possible. We dive straight into their mission, where Shield Best is striking a goblin to incapacitate it. Following the initial successful strike, he instructs the others to join in the attack. The archer and the mage launch their individual projectile attacks simultaneously, speeding by their companion and eliminating the green goblin immediately. With the initial creature defeated, the rest are quite fearful, yet somehow continue to push forward like a group of fools. They apply pressure on Shield Best's defense, as his friends express concern over him enduring the intense blows. The team leader encourages them to swiftly assault the goblins while he distracts them, but there's a significant issue. They're both in cooldown mode. As they are occupied, our boy intervenes in the battle from above. In that precise instant, the man delivers a sweeping blow, annihilating the goblin with one strike. His agility is remarkably impressive, that even the others are stunned. Kaiser firmly plants his feet on the ground. Prior to launching correctly, rejoining the herd like a projectile, he swiftly darts past multiple goblins, eliminating them simultaneously while receiving accolades from his fellow soldiers. Even, the team leader pauses to express gratitude for his outstanding performance, confident that they will successfully complete the quest in a timely manner. A minor issue just above. In front, a whole band of goblins has shown up. These small green-skinned fiends are chuckling and biding their time to strike, as the team leader insists they withdraw and pull back. But our boy is unaware of its significance, as he's eager to face all the challenges. So he leaps forward. The goblins are thrilled, convinced they are receiving a free victim, as this man leaps upward, staring at them as if embodying a demon. Initially, it appears serene, but then a real explosion occurs from the consequences of the fight. This reminds us of a discussion Kaiser had with his longtime friend, who wondered why he consistently encountered the toughest battles imaginable. Our son failed to grasp the concept of being reckless. As his friends noted, he consistently jumped in first to confront any challenging boss or powerful creatures. The highest achiever merely replied that he overcame every challenge, disregarding the inherent risks. This man is unacquainted with the idea of recklessness. As it may appear perilous to others, it diminishes their determination to engage in the battle with such danger. Kaiser is quite different. This man is not in danger. He embodies the danger itself. And he won't soften his words to make that clear to you. He has consistently battled strategically, confident that victory awaited him in each clash. The explosion occurred just now, due to a technique known as smash that he employed. Kaiser strikes critical blows against green goblins, not the Spider-Man variety. With just one menacing dart goblin remaining, Kaiser retreats to focus on the primary danger, understanding that eliminating the ranged adversaries first is the best strategy. During his dive, he cuts through multiple armed fighters in his path. The dart goblin launches its toxic dart in an attempt to hinder his movement. Yet this man immediately triggers his overcome trait, to surpass his boundaries. This hones his perceptions, enabling this man to deflect correctly, amazing the goblin with his agility. He swiftly brings its life to a sudden conclusion, before confronting another one directly and managing that one too. Kaiser deflects the strike, and reliably provides a stunning slash, bringing the beast down. The weapon master trait's effect triggers, enabling him to utilize the skill known as exploit weakness. Our son is pleased with his development, seizing the small dagger and hurling it straight into the goblin's eye, landing a crucial blow. The goblins around him are teaming up against him. One of them strikes him with a bat, but Kaiser deflects it, granting him the opportunity to utilize the weapon's special ability as well. Using the same bat, this individual adopts an Asian parent approach with his rivals. First, he throws the dagger into the monster's throat, before striking its face with a bat, turning it into paste. His weapon's effectiveness improves during the process, elevating the level. Up to now, everything is going quite well for them. He wanted to acquire skills freely, unaware that he could apply them directly in combat right away. Though tired, he's equally excited to achieve this level. Yet he feels thrilled. Those observing him are truly doubting their vision. The team leader is baffled by how one player accomplished what even a skilled group could not achieve against a horde of goblins. This individual is exceptional for confronting a danger of that magnitude. The name Kaiser is beginning to become quite understandable. Shield Best truly questions whether this guy is the same person from back in the day. Yet he refuses to acknowledge that absurd reality. After all, that same brilliant resentment vanished from existence for a complete 2 years. It's hard to believe the same person showed up at his gathering. Isn't it? That's his thought. But this raises the question, who is this man to begin with? Kaiser appears to be acting like a Yandere, eager for his future in ranked play. Shield Best believes the guy is truly insane about this point. Regaining his composure, Kaiser observes the decaying body and understands that both the dagger and the bat will vanish since they belong to the foe. Nevertheless, he accomplished much by overcoming weapon limitations, leaving him content. Opening the status window, he reviews his level and stats. After one hunt, he advances by 3 stages, which is quite impressive. Sufficient. Despite having access to all types of weapons, Kaiser favors his sword and plans to allocate his points towards strength and agility. The other statistics are well protected by his item and trait enhancements, so he's relaxed. During the height of his celebration, his new friends join in to praise him for excelling at the game. Shield Best portrays him as the true Kaiser, while the others struggle to understand why the famed ranker would engage in this game once more. Nevertheless, his abilities remain unmatched among the elite. Therefore, it's not beyond reason for them to accept the truth. As they debate, all Kaiser can comprehend is that he is the true Kaiser to begin with. They inquire out of curiosity whether he summoned a mythical deity for his damage, too. He graciously replies that it is due to his characteristics and accolades. They're amazed to learn he's acquired some impressive items and question whether he plans to become a true ranker. A brief silence follows among the group. Shield Best proposed they continue hunting now that their stamina was restored. The other guys are set to fight. Kaiser is indifferent as well. In reality, his party has grown increasingly assured and reliant on his involvement. However, from their discussions, the only thing he recalled were his former party's words, expressing their desire for him to lead the raid. He recalls this experience fondly and wonders what his former friends are doing now. Out of nowhere, an urgent mission emerges as a mini-boss monster quest. The group is anticipated to defeat the mutant goblin in a no-time limit scenario, catching Kaiser off guard. The scene transitions to the cave entrance, where the entire group stands united. They have at last reached their destination to confront the mutant goblin and fulfill the quest. The mage and the archer constantly express their feelings of anxiety at this moment. Despite having all exerted themselves intensely and reached level 9 on their journey here without any reservations. Our protagonist, however, recognizes precisely the source of this anxiety, as the dungeon they are about to venture into is notorious and commonly referred to as the newbie slayer among gamers. Kaiser remembers seeing reviews where individuals constantly discussed and stressed about how to navigate the dungeon without facing death, repeating their concerns with each attempt. Additionally, it is nearly certain that a player will perish on their initial attempt. Consequently, the dungeon has earned several monikers, one of which is Artist's Tomb among the gaming community. Upon entering, Kaiser remains preoccupied with the immense challenges posed by this location, and how it necessitates particular teamwork patterns for someone to successfully complete it. As the group ventures further in, they continuously express discontent about how a location like this ought to be prohibited for, positive and taken out of the game. After hearing all these negative remarks, the leader Shield Best aims to inspire his team by emphasizing that their only option is to conquer this dungeon if they wish to secure a ticket for participation in more advanced raids. Similar to how firms favor seasoned interns over total newcomers, the guilds in this game adhere to the same principle, making it essential to clear this dungeon for a genuine opportunity to join a legitimate guild or party. The game has implemented stringent protocols to prevent cheating, ensuring that each player's complete progress is documented in an unusual book of adventures, which is the reason no one can just claim to have cleared the dungeon without doing it. Kaiser realizes that he must successfully navigate this dungeon if he hopes to participate in a boss raid in the upcoming city. The boss lurking within this dungeon is Ard, and although you can advance without defeating him now, the boss in the upcoming city will block anyone from progressing until it is eliminated. As a result, Kaiser understands he must demonstrate his competence to be accepted into a legitimate guild. The group quickly arrives at the door, where the notorious Ard awaits them. The game panel indicates that a maximum of 4 players can enter, and all must be below level 10, which perfectly aligns with their team's composition. Kaiser inquires if the group is prepared, and Yubink promptly states that she is completely ready and has reviewed the strategy over 10 times already. The Shield Best leader triggers the challenge and all embrace it readily. The gate swings open and they enter the dwelling place of the goblin warrior Arda. As Kaiser readies himself to return to action, it has been quite a while since he last demonstrated his abilities. Alright then, the boss monster emerges, sporting a sinister grin on his face. He possesses an enormous 20,000 hit points, and emits a growl as he gets ready to defeat the band of adventurers who had the audacity to rouse him. Yubink is unsettled by the vividness of the experience and anxiously wonders whether this is merely a game or if she has been ice-guyed into a different realm. Kaiser yells at all to remain alert as the boss rushes directly toward them. Shield Best looks at Kaiser and realizes that regardless of his strength, he cannot safeguard everyone simultaneously. He swiftly advances, lifts his shield, and instructs the others to step back. As he prepares to absorb the full force of the boss's charge, he succeeds in impressing the boss, and instructs all to seize the opportunity and give it their all. Ard the Goblin, nonetheless, swiftly recuperates and charges for another strike. It swings its blade, yet the tank successfully deflects it once more using his shield while triggering his protective trait. That boosts his defense and vitality as long as his teammates remain in the back. Kaiser is observed soaring through the air, effortlessly slicing through the goblin repeatedly. The goblin yells and retreats. Shield Best gazes at the creature with a grin, understanding that they could pass through Phase 1 easily. At that moment, the command to aim for the head echoes, warning him of the incoming pattern. The shield is incredulous, recalling that they needed to reduce the goblin's hit points to half to activate such a trigger. He is taken aback upon seeing the monster and understanding that the requirement has already been fulfilled. At that moment, our hero leaps in again and cuts through the goblin's hand. He maintains a smile and claims that he has already ended the pattern. The narrative transitions to a flashback featuring Kaiser during an interview. The interviewer inquires about the secret to his party's achievements, particularly in overcoming challenging bosses and dungeons that others found difficult to manage. The hero nonchalantly states that they simply focus on their strengths. The interviewer remembers the party setup, which consists of 4 roles: tank, DPS, healer, and support. She notes that the tank role appears absent from Kaiser's party and questions how raids can occur without it. Kaiser acknowledges that tanks play a crucial role in any party, particularly in disrupting the boss's rhythm. He then surprises the woman by disclosing that he is the one who personally handles that responsibility. Returning to the present, Art is left howling in agony after its design is disrupted and its limb is cut. Shield Best is in disbelief at the sight before him, as he understands that even tanks would find it challenging to disrupt a boss's rhythm. The team's forward is achieving the impossible, accomplishing what seems unattainable with just 1 hit. The Goblin Ard launches another attack, but once again is easily taken down by Kaiser. The archer expresses enthusiasm, noting that the team's attacker is targeting only the critical areas. At this stage, Kaiser has disrupted another sequence, leaving the boss with slightly less than a quarter of its health points remaining. Shield loudly instructs the team to get ready for the next Phase 2. The mage and the archer prepare themselves, determined not to allow Kaiser to steal all the attention. The goblin warrior then mutated, displays its characteristic and enters a frenzied state. Ardboy anticipates this, remembering that each boss possesses a unique ability. He recalls that the game has assigned 2 traits to Ard of the Goblin, referred to as the 007 Bang. The initial trait inflicts a debuff on the opponent's team after receiving physical damage 4 or more times. The subsequent trait enables it to mirror magic damage if it is targeted 3 or more times. Additionally, the Berserk effect decreases speed by 4%. The archer expresses frustration over the debuff, claiming that this boss becomes increasingly overpowered with each moment, despite having done very little in the battle so far. Kaiser, however, remains immune to all of these debuffs. His ability lets him completely disregard the Berserk effect. That makes him thrilled. As Shield Best issues commands to evade attacks, the emphasis remains on dodging for now. Kaiser has an alternate strategy. He discloses his aim to just chop down the creature and advances ahead. Ard swings wildly as if he truly has a chance, And as anticipated, the MC is excessively strong and slices through the creature, appearing surprisingly effortless. In the meantime, the archer and the mage remain puzzled as to why Kaiser is unaffected by the debuffs. Even Shieldbest has abandoned any notion of losing this fight. He gazes at Kaiser in astonishment and still questions whether he is genuinely the Kaiser from the tales. Currently, all three of them are. They are merely observing as Kaiser continues, swinging his blade towards the goblin. In the conflict, our hero attains level 10 and his swordsmanship skill increases due to. Regarding this, his sword damage rises by 7%. He rushes at the goblin for a concluding maneuver and shows up, prior to it immediately, dividing it in half. This alerts the players that the mutant is present. The dungeon is cleared after the defeat of Goblin Warrior Arde. Rather than celebrating, Shieldbest is absorbed in his thoughts, attempting to determine whether the individual before them is truly the famed Kaiser or merely an inferior imitation. Upon hearing this, the remaining two are equally left astonished. The gaming system notifies them that they have shattered the record and secured the top position in the time limit rankings. Rewards are allocated according to contributions, and naturally, Kaiser secures the top position within the team. He gets a red leader top along with several other goblin items that he likely won't make use of. Additionally, he gains the title of the Throne of the Time Attack, enhancing his speed stat by 10%. Kaiser stands there with pride, as he has the chance to shine again. Gazing at their system displays, everyone becomes extremely thrilled by the god-tier drops they just obtained. The archer and the mage begin to sing our hero's accolades, yet he just smiles back. Shieldbest then chimes in looking quite sheepish, requesting him to check the name displayed on the ranking list. As the tank was in the lead, his name appears on the screen. He expresses regret for not considering a name change prior to their dungeon entry. Kaiser understands and recognizes that being listed in the rankings, particularly in the top position, is likely a significant achievement. There's a possibility of being accepted into the top 10 guilds with this kind of accomplishment. Although this dungeon is intended for beginners, they continue to divert attention from the leading player, Annihilation. Returning to the gathering, the tank expresses regret once more and proposes to compensate financially for the error. Our boy simply smiles and quickly forgives them. When such events occur, the system automatically logs the leader's name upon entering the dungeon, and he was surprised to achieve first place. Internally, he feels relieved because being in the limelight can be quite challenging. Ultimately, the key aspect here is the rewards. The warrior set, although it is one of the top products available in this location. As he truly received fragments of every grade, our protagonist believes that the ranking title cannot dampen his spirits. Observing the distorted grin on Kaiser's face, the tank inquires whether this is truly acceptable. Our hero simply dismisses it, advising them to relax and take a chill pill. The group subsequently begins to flatter him for his selflessness, just for the system to declare that the dungeon is nearing its closure. Shieldbest tells his archer companion that he initially believed the rumors regarding Kaiser were highly overstated. Now, he fully realizes what an exceptional person he genuinely is. Our boy observes the group lingering and inquires if they wish to remain in the dungeon. That jolts them back to reality, and they quickly rush toward the portal. Returning to the village, they navigate to the alchemist in the rear alley. Upon entering the shop, the squad is astonished by how drastically different the interior appears compared to their expectations. Kaiser sees the cloaked figure positioned behind the counter, and concludes that it has to be Kalda the alchemist. Noticing his foul mood, people begin to reconsider their decisions. The alchemist begins to roast them, questioning whether they have surrendered and reminding them that he still requires a significant amount of blood for his experiments. Our boy forcefully places the vial of blood on the counter, which takes him entirely off guard as it has not even been 40 minutes. Observing the self-assured expressions on the group, the alchemist begins to blush like a young girl. The system notifies Kaiser that he has obtained gold and a silver ring crafted by the individual. Thus, the quest is finished, allowing everyone to proceed to the main continent. People begin to celebrate wildly, as though they have just hit the jackpot. A new notification appears, indicating that Kaiser received a special gift from Calda as well. He saves it for later and instead unlocks the low-tier skill ticket reward. The display begins to radiate an odd glow. Cards drift out, filling the space. Employing his Eye of Truth skill, he comes to understand that the majority of the cards are quite mundane. He then observes the charging/skill, identical to the one he employed in Demrock. Kaiser remembers that the ticket lottery provides a chance that ranges from. At that moment, a notification appears indicating that the system will shut down in a matter of seconds. That takes our hero completely by surprise. He completely overlooked the time restriction designed to stop users from becoming addicted to the game or neglecting their own well-being. Kaiser is astonished that 10 hours have gone by. As he examines the cards, he swiftly organizes them while the countdown starts on the system. As he touches the display, the system subsequently compels the game to close. Back. In reality, he pauses briefly to comprehend what just occurred, then begins yelling in exasperation as if someone had struck him in the groin. The following morning, he relaxes enjoying his restful slumber and chooses to jump back into the machine. Once he goes online, he begins by accessing the system, remembering that he observed a golden glow. His spirits sink upon realizing the card wasn't of legendary quality, and concludes that his fortune is fading away. He does a double take upon realizing he received the backstab ability instead. This dominant ability is why many ranged combatants steer clear of engaging in close combat with assassins. Regardless of their efforts to maintain space, this ability enables the assassin to bridge the distance in an instant. Kaiser grins wildly when he discovers that he possesses the skill, even though he isn't an assassin. Should he acquire a few additional overpowered abilities like this, he would be utterly invincible. At that moment, a pretentious show-off strolls past, exaggerating to his girlfriend about being a professional player. Upon seeing the wild expression on our boy's face, the two realize. The pair panics and acts. A total turnaround. At last breaking free from daydreams, Kaiser makes a choice to wear the gear he received. Sporting a fresh look, he concludes that it's the right moment to journey to the main continent. He remembers as the portal materializes that he didn't even bid farewell to the team he was with. Even though he was beginning to feel comfortable with them, he believes that this has to be destiny, and ultimately progresses, transitioning into lore mode. Every player who escapes Ard feels joy as they enter the mainland. In contrast to the starter area, which is split into country-specific servers, individuals from across the globe can connect and interact here. The journey begins in the city of Raven. As our young hero ventures further into in the city, 2 knights pass through the gate, pulling a criminal along with them. The system notifies him that new opportunities and positions are now available. However, his novice protection has concluded. Noticing the welcoming messages, Kaiser understands that the game is exceptional for a reason. A cheerful Fatso NPC shows up and presents him with a complimentary beer. Others appear as well, providing him with freebies that causes him to become lost in contemplation. He eventually breaks free from it, reminding himself that he can handle everything at a later time. As he stretches his arms, he ponders his next hunting destination. Eventually, he is occupied eliminating monsters beyond the city limits. The warrior set provides additional damage against goblins along with enhanced power boosts. With his rushing/skill, he darts through the monsters, reducing them to mincemeat. Additionally, with every monster he conquers, his greatsword becomes increasingly potent. The weapon was excessively powerful from the start. However, the continuous growth in strength fills him with immense excitement. Glancing at his ability screen, he understands that the next level is close. At that moment, his Eye of Truth skill is triggered and he notices an individual concealed within the bushes. The concealed thug begins to drool upon spotting the warrior set, believing he has struck gold. Unable to contain his excitement any further, he darts forward with his knife, only for Kaiser to effortlessly deflect his strike. The disguise ultimately dissipates an hour. The boy glares at him, exuding a threatening presence. Man recoils in fright and shouts at his henchman to strike now. An archer unexpectedly fires arrows at Kaiser, but they are deflected like paper wads. A different man with an axe rushes toward him, just to have his strike deflected like a feeble peasant. Our boy subsequently cuts through the criminal's corpse, as the other two come to understand they picked the wrong opponent. The timid assassin quickly flees, yet doesn't go far as Kaiser appears before him, inquiring if the tiny infant has lost his parents. Kaiser remembers that these player killers were present in the earlier game too. Almost every game featured them. Even the renowned Sword Art Online had its share of these despicable cowards who would rob others, demonstrating their lack of honor, or simply engage in it for the enjoyment derived from killing them. This Game Go Us features that as well. Our professional gamer refers to them as noob hunters rather than player killers or PK. The narrative returns to the game, with our protagonist facing the chicken that is on the verge of soiling itself. The inexperienced player is puzzled by how a seemingly regular swordsman has executed a backstab move typically associated with an assassin. Yet prior to unraveling the enigma surrounding this, the assassin boy meets his own end. Kaiser also eliminates his allies with absurd names such as Not Your Mom. Rather than viewing Kaiser as a criminal and imposing a penalty, the game's AI determines that his actions were merely acts of self-defense. Yet, after confronting these novice slayers, our protagonist recalls the supportive friends he had in Arda. He subsequently puts away his belongings to prevent attracting further attention from other player killers and proceeds to finish additional tasks. In a flash, the guy finishes several quests and reaches level 17, granting him access to the West Gate. Kaiser, being Kaiser, swiftly passes through the gate and ventures into the forest to the west of Raven. During his journey, the NPCs caution him about the perilous nature of this hunting ground, and that he should attempt to escape if he comes close to it. Our protagonist understands that the oppressive environment stems from the thick forest, with giant insects buzzing about, while goblins plot and strategize their ambushes. Based on his experiences, this location is incredibly challenging to manage. Players have established a guideline that anyone who enters must be accompanied by a minimum of 3 people. As a result, the space in front of the West Gate is filled with individuals seeking teammates to enhance their chances of survival in this frightening environment. Meanwhile, some are on the lookout for attackers and tanks. Some are seeking out healers. Healers, on the other hand, are a class many prefer to steer clear of, given the tedious and challenging nature of leveling them up. When Kaiser heads west, receiving warnings from NPCs about the perilous nature of this hunting area, advising him to flee if he gets too close. Alone, he faces ridicule from others who taunt him for being a broke loser, unable to find anyone to join him, as our protagonist quietly sighs in anticipation. Amidst the thick forest, he glides ahead effortlessly, cutting through goblins taken by surprise from unexpected assaults. One goblin believes fortune smiles upon him and leaps into action, but completely misses and receives, crushed at the scene. Another goblin archer targets the unfortunate boy, but Kaiser outwits him and hurls his great sword, cutting off the top section of its body. Upon losing his sword and its benefits, the goblins believe they have a real opportunity to prevail. The legendary boy, though, has support as he swiftly grabs an axe and utilizes backstabs to eliminate them with downward blows. He swiftly confronts the goblins individually and even enhances his axe mastery by 1 level. Once he finishes the goblin quest, he feels something coming up from behind and discovers a large centipede crawling in to satisfy its hunger. The sudden commotion causes the birds to fly from the trees. Kaiser jumps into the sky, the first centipede right on his tail. He emits a powerful battle shout and uses his entire body to unleash a powerful strike. The centipede suffers severe damage and is launched away, Yet, in the following instant, it rebounds towards him, evidently intent on seeking vengeance. Our hero responds immediately and successfully deflects the strike. Simultaneously, he conjures a battle axe in his left hand, observing the creature's hideous appearance from such a close distance. A powerful swing of the axe severs the centipede's mandibles. With just 2 additional strikes from his sword, he secures his ultimate victory against the monster. Kaiser advances and his stats display indicates that he has increased by 2 levels. He quietly remarks that advancing is no simple task, yet things are progressing well for him. Having completed the majority of the accessible quests, his focus shifts to a typical task within the West Gate quests. It directs him to locate and recover a girl's missing pendant. He prepares himself as he is aware of its location. While traveling there, he encounters fellow adventurers, all lined up and awaiting their opportunity. Kaiser quickly identifies a tree as the location where the pendant is meant to appear. In the background, individuals complain and murmur about the lengthy line and the extensive wait they are experiencing. Amidst the murmurs, he catches a discussion regarding the execution order for the griefers. The men contend that the assassin likely earned it due to his recklessness, and one of them even states that the individual is known as Kaiser. Several alarms trigger in our hero's mind as he senses that something is amiss. The men keep conversing, mentioning that our hero seemingly employed backstabbing, which they find somewhat confusing. He believes that no one should accept such an improbable theory. However, the discussion serves as a warning for him to maintain a low profile temporarily. He realizes that a swordsman employing assassin techniques is unusual, and possessing 6 traits is exceptionally uncommon. The guilds would never remain passive and would attempt to recruit him as soon as they discover him. However, there are also the psychopaths who would prefer to eliminate such a unique talent, particularly if they are leading guild members from Demrock. Their sole principle appears to be obtaining or annihilating what is otherwise unattainable. He removes the pendant from its place in the tree and reminds himself that it remains too soon for any impulsive actions. Close to the western entrance, Camilla radiates joy upon receiving her pendant and expresses her gratitude to our hero for the kind gesture. Kaiser is awarded 1 gold, several XP points, and a present from Camilla. Concurrently, he advances to level 20 and gains a skill draw ticket as a reward. Camilla notes that the pendant holds her deepest sentimental value. Nevertheless, she is prepared to offer it to Kaiser as a reward. Our hero expresses gratitude and advises her to keep it safe this time. Camilla expresses her gratitude again, smiling as she does. The hero's maximum affinity skill triggers, leading to a significant increase in Camilla's affinity. The unexpected increase catches Kaiser off guard as he leaves, and he concludes that it likely surged due to her being a young girl. Without hesitation, he shifts his focus to the upcoming quest. This task entails conquering the dungeon located beyond the West Gate, and with a draw ticket as the reward, he knows he cannot afford to let this chance slip away. Concurrently, he recalls that 2 dungeons lie beyond the West Gate, one inhabited by goblin chiefs and the other serving as an ant nest. Given his warrior abilities, he opts to pursue the goblins. However, both dungeons still necessitate a group to initiate the quest. Our protagonist understands he must not disclose his real powers yet. He approaches the dungeon casually while all the adventurers rush about in chaos, frantically looking for a level 20 mage everywhere. In the midst of the chaos, item collectors and weapon repairers contribute their own shouts, transforming the entire area into a bustling marketplace atmosphere. Our protagonist is astonished to find production-type players assembled at the dungeon. Observing that robbers and overly optimistic individuals are the first to face rejection. Simultaneously, individuals flock to mages like ants, pleading for them to become part of their groups. The protagonist recalls that the game's hierarchy is determined by the skills each character possesses in relation to the mob bosses. That renders mages almost divine in this dungeon. He realizes that swordsmen are fundamentally ineffective in this situation. But at that moment, someone shouts to him from behind. He looks over to find a player beckoning him to join their group, should he still be solo. Kaiser verifies whether they recognize him as just a mere swordsman, and they acknowledge that they are fully aware. They clarify that they are merely raiding the dungeon for a quest and require another random member to accompany them. Our protagonist becomes wary but chooses to go along. He agrees, and the player sends him an invite via the system interface. Simply by looking at their statistics, he realizes that these individuals are fully aware of his identity. Reflecting on moments prior, they noticed him standing out in the crowd, likely due to his eye-catching red warrior armor set. Typically, no newcomers stroll around equipped like that. This inspired bastard sword with a dark thought aligning with his username. The group plunges directly into the challenging lair of the Goblin Chief, using only a few torches to illuminate the shadowy passages. Their venture begins as they swiftly take down the initial Red Goblin Scout. A system alert appears, indicating that the chief has sensed their arrival. The party leader and tank display bravado, showcasing their impressive levels. Our boy truly admires their effective teamwork and significant damage delivery. Shortly thereafter, the Goblin Chief dispatches reinforcements to deal with the intruders. Suddenly, numerous glowing red eyes flicker to life in the shadows, and the walls shake as a rush approaches them. Suddenly displaying generosity, the team inquires if Kaiser wishes to handle the wave on his own. They assure him they will intervene if things take a turn for the worse. The mage girl interjects, declaring it's the ideal moment to evaluate their synergy. She promises to definitely support him if he finds himself in danger. Kaiser notices warning signs all around. Yet, he is not a coward who retreats. He plunges directly into the goblin swarm with a precise charging slash, cutting through rednecks as if they were mere practice dummies. The leader's doubts are validated. Kaiser's battle-hardened instincts signal he is the veteran they seek. The unscrupulous leader instructs his tank to assess the abilities of the newcomer. The man calmly responds that they are certainly not of inferior quality. Clearly, Kaiser possesses keen dodging abilities and swiftly aims for critical areas as an impressive sword fighter. However, there's something about him that seems off. He mentions that the newcomer hasn't yet reached the skill level where a veteran like Assassin Boy 6 to 9 should have been defeated. While Kaiser is fast for his rank, assassins operate on an entirely different level. Armed with stealth and toxins, it stands out as one of the most overpowered PvP classes, effortlessly triumphing in 3-on-1 battles without any struggle. Exasperated by the excessive scrutiny, the mage girl urges them to chill out. Their ultimate aim is to dump him in a ditch, rendering the specifics insignificant. Upon hearing this, the leader signals tank to discreetly initiate the plan. The three approach from the rear at a slow pace, feigning they are merely offering support. Meanwhile, Kaiser remains acutely conscious of his surroundings, even as he chops goblins like wood. His fellow players praise him, expressing their belief that he could conquer the entire dungeon solo with his sword skills. Our boy gives them a broad smile and nonchalantly responds that they aren't too shabby either. The tank continues to flatter him, informing the leader that they have discovered a dedicated gamer deserving of admiration. Nevertheless, Kaiser isn't one to be swayed by insincere praise. He believed there were merely two motives for throwing him into a horde of monsters like that. They might have been employing him as bait, intending to seize his treasure once he was gone. However, at this point, it appears they are not prepared to act. The leader proposes they continue advancing, not for the sake of kindness. But he is anticipating the ideal moment when our hero will be most vulnerable to eliminate. The group defeats wave after wave of creatures. Despite her efforts, the mage girl continually fails to hit her target. The leader berates her poor accuracy, while she unapologetically accuses the goblins of obstructing her shots. The trio, already winded, believes Kaiser is extraordinarily fortunate. In the meantime, he is truly astonished by her poor aim, especially since he practically provides her with clear opportunities. They have arrived at the boss room, marking their last chance. The enormous gate slowly creaks open, and a dense atmosphere flows outward. Two top goblin warriors advance as the chief's private security team, prepared to defeat the invaders. The leader instructs Kaiser to manage them while they attend to a crucial matter. To their astonishment, he vanishes unexpectedly, and the elite soldiers begin advancing toward them instead. The tank exclaims that the cunning little rat must have uncovered their whole plan. The mage girl yells at the foolish tank to concentrate on the foes rather than succumbing to fear. Upon hearing this, the men urgently restrain the goblins, shouting at her to burn them before they are crushed. The girl starts to cast fireball, but suddenly halts as a huge boulder hurtles directly toward her face. She narrowly evades it by moving aside. The young girl stands still upon spotting the enormous figure responsible for it. The goblin leader, sporting diabetes and a double chin that could compete with Donald Trump, emerges with a roar that reverberates through the room. Tank faces her, inquiring how long she intends to remain lost in thought. However, the mage girl appears ashen, as if she has just encountered the angel of death. Kaiser exposes himself once more, gently inquiring with his friends whether they are close companions of Assassin Boy. Feeling trapped and bewildered, she reveals the truth but urges him to assist in clearing the dungeon first before addressing their personal matters. After all, tackling a dungeon of this nature is nearly unfeasible without a complete team. Kaiser acknowledges and concedes that, logically, she is entirely right. She exhales softly, believing he has finally regained his clarity. That is, until a 2-foot blade drives into her chest, occupying the space where her heart once was. Through that remark, Kaiser indicates he has no interest in the rational choice. As the other two continue to struggle against the elite goblin soldiers, Kaiser nonchalantly receives a reward alert for taking down a villain. He is delighted to witness his setup yield excellent results. As the elite soldiers emerged, he executed a backstab on a nearby corpse. The assassin's skill enabled him to disappear in plain sight unnoticed. Following that, he just concealed himself and bided his time for the trio to become distracted in combat. The leader looks at him in shock, wondering if he has truly lost his sanity. Surely he can't be serious about taking them down with him. Kaiser calmly suggests he try to guess his motto, bothering the person who isn't interested in solving riddles. He then reveals a dagger he just acquired and states it plainly. He refuses to associate with treacherous parasites. The leader's mouth falls open upon seeing the dagger. It was once in the possession of Assassin Boy 6 to 9, now held by Kaiser. Our boy grins broadly, entertained to notice that the guy is familiar with his friend's gear. Beyond shock, the leader is puzzled as to why a swordsman wields a dagger. In the hands of a greatsword user, a dagger is as practical as a monkey with a screwdriver. The leader questions how Kaiser intends to tackle the dungeon alone after removing the only two individuals who could have assisted him. The goblin chief exhibits an incredibly high resistance to physical harm. He cannot possibly chip it down with that small dagger, regardless of how many times he swings it. Kaiser, on the other hand, just shrugs and states that his approach is quite straightforward. Status effects such as bleed aren't considered physical damage, and that's his secret to an effortless victory. The leader begins yelling at him, insisting that bleed alone cannot defeat a high-rank boss by itself. Smiling as if he possesses knowledge they lack, Kaiser coolly clarifies that he isn't employing a low-quality bleed effect. In the blink of an eye, the leader sees him disappear, then materialize a few feet forward. Before he can comprehend the situation, his health declines rapidly. The statistical disparity between him and Kaiser is immense. A greater stat difference amplifies the potency of his bleed effect. The elite soldier and the party leader abruptly begin to cough up concerning quantities of blood. Fuming and choking with rage, the leader curses the foolish game mechanics that penalize him for possessing superior stats. The level difference isn't even significant. They're merely 4 levels apart. For the bleed damage to be this severe, there must be another concealed element at play. Kaiser observes the results of the skill he executed with a sense of quiet pride. On the surface, it appeared to be merely a standard level 20 gacha skill. However, he was unprepared for the rare condition linked to it. Stacking status effects is rare in many games, yet Kaiser possesses the ideal combination of skills and weapons to enhance the damage output of bleed significantly. Totally bewildered, the party leader accuses hacks. In his final moments, he labels Kaiser a despicable cheating bastard. It's quite ironic that a player known as Bastard Sword would witness his leader fall, prompting the tank to shout his friend's name in sheer panic. His face reveals all. He now realizes he challenged the wrong person, and he's in deep trouble. The scheme was meant to be perfect. Instead, it's his companions who are sprawled lifeless on the dungeon floor. He realizes too late that they were never the predators. Kaiser had been orchestrating their movements from the start, manipulating them like marionettes. By the moment the tank understands it must flee, it's already too late. The heavily armored warriors fall like bags of potatoes following a single precise cut from his dagger. He collapses back to his knees despite the blood loss, yet he only lasts a few more seconds before meeting his end. With that, our hero dispatches the cunning players alongside the elite goblin warriors. The goblin chief, who has been silently observing from the periphery, suddenly recalls his involvement in this battle. Witnessing the fall of his most devoted guards, the manager emits an angry roar. Kaiser breathes out, remembering he still has the furious fatty to confront. Given that he is already present, he figures he might as well have some fun. The boss jumps down from above, attempting to crush him with the force of 100 Cybertrucks. Its physical resistance has yet to be engaged. A swift knee strike to the face sends the large brute crashing backward. Wounded and ashamed, it triggers self-protective mechanisms and nearly eliminates all incoming physical damage. Without delay, Kaiser employs his thieving abilities once more, striking the boss from various directions, just as he did earlier. Blood erupts from the goblin chief as if a water balloon had been punctured. The creature whirls around, its furious glare revealing its anger after witnessing half its health disappear in one blow. His gaze locks onto Kaiser's, who is assessing which animal will be the next to go on the barbecue. The chief's anger disappears immediately. With a terrified shriek, it spins around and bolts. For the first time ever, the boss retreats from its own battle. Our boy narrows the distance with backstab, as the goblin looks back, believing it got away. However, as he swings its double chin back, he discovers the executioner just inches from its succulent neck, poised to create pork cutlets. The goblin leader shrieks in fear as he steps onto a fast train to hell. The system notifies him of his win and that he has also leveled up. He receives the chief's unpleasant, sweaty belt, but he is pleased since he had been seeking one. Our protagonist considers that he might have secured a ranked position here as well. However, with no time constraints, he dismisses the thought. It does linger on his mind somewhat, but he subsequently concentrates on all the enticing rewards here. As he grabs the shield, he understands the thugs invested heavily in their equipment. The leader's sword was also high-quality equipment. Although he lived true to his name, he can no longer cause harm to anyone. As he reaches for a necklace to examine, his truth-seeing power is triggered and measures the distance. Initially, he questions whether someone is employing stealth, but the illumination appears too intense for that. As he approaches it, the system informs him that he has found a secret dungeon. This takes him entirely off guard. Reverting to lore mode, dungeons are categorized into grades, with the most legendary and elusive referred to as hidden dungeons. Even players with explorer classes often struggle significantly to locate them. The entrances are situated in bizarre spots, and additionally, there are quite a few strange special requirements for accessing them. Returning to our boy, he is astonished by the outrageous conditions present in this dungeon. In a dungeon typically meant for a group to conquer, he must explore it alone. However, he reassures himself that it wouldn't be worthwhile otherwise. Upon discovering that the rewards from this concealed dungeon are of hero grade, he becomes motivated to conquer it at all costs. Freed, a veteran of this game, remarked that stepping into a concealed dungeon feels akin to placing your head in a predator's jaws. Many players concur that the instant you let your guard down near a beast, it will close its jaws tightly and crush your skull. The concealed dungeon resembles a stealthy predator, poised to ensnare its victim as they venture into its gaping maw. Returning to our boy, Kaiser enters the dungeon, merely to be affected by a debuff, creating tunnel vision for him. However, his heroic ability activates, lifting the curse and returning his 20 by 20 vision. The impolite greeting only fuels his enthusiasm further. A hooded goblin then voices his admiration, praising him for boldly entering his lair without fear. In close proximity, Kaiser observes all the vile undead goblins and spiders, and instantly feels unsettled. Noticing his response, the shaman goblin grows bolder and begins to laugh maniacally. Nonetheless, our boy is astonished to discover he is a named boss. Despite being in a high-level dungeon, a named boss is still far superior. He reminisces about the prizes he earned from slaying the dragon and begins to salivate at the thought of his next rewards. The goblin begins to monologue, perplexed about how the human found this location. It's evident that Kaiser isn't an explorer, and one can observe the various auras intertwined within him. Our hero is pleasantly surprised to find the goblin is more intelligent than expected. The shaman becomes solemn and proclaims that Kaiser will not escape this location alive. With that, he commands his army of the undead. But our boy simply stands firm and retorts that he will show the monster a lesson. By activating his backstab skill, he cautions the shaman that a ranged combatant must remain vigilant when engaging in close combat with a melee opponent. He subsequently teleports behind the shaman. Yet the creature is ready, as he effortlessly hurls one of his undead minions at him, leading to its explosion. Nonetheless, the shaman's smile quickly disappears when our boy pulls an Itachi and reappears behind him once more. Noticing the blade he held, the shaman becomes aware that he has been severed. Kaiser mocks him, reminding the goblin that he had already advised him to remain vigilant. The goblin necromancer becomes focused as he raises additional soldiers into the air and propels them towards our boy. In the meantime, our hero skillfully avoids the monster projectiles. He can effortlessly discern the attack's direction and anticipate the plans of the worthless individual involved. In that instant, Kaiser is pushed up against a wall. The shaman begins to rejoice, proclaiming that this marks the conclusion, triggering more of his undead warriors to detonate. The dark shaman clicks its tongue. Clearly disheartened, it missed the opportunity to secure such a fascinating test subject intact. Jihad accuses him of being reckless and arrogant. That self-satisfied demeanor vanishes instantly when the man presumed to be dead unexpectedly encircles it with an arm from behind, and he continues further. He leans closer and tells the shaman that it cannot employ any additional skills. Choosing to savor the moment, he sheathes the dagger and begins striking Jihad with his fists rather than finishing it. A powerful punch launches the frail shaman, crashing its back forcefully against the wall. The creature emits a groan, probably never encountering such bullying previously. With a steadfast and unwavering stare, Kaiser asserts his dominance, making it evident who truly holds authority in this establishment. Jihad holds onto its dwindling pride, whispering that it will eventually seek retribution for this disgrace. Kaiser delivers a precise hook to the liver, swiftly knocking the pride out of it. He continues with a brief series of punches until the shaman gasps and genuinely requests a break. The grotesque being then dares to admonish him, asserting that violence causing broken bones should be prohibited. Thus what he is doing is fundamentally immoral. Kaiser simply gazes at it, attempting to comprehend the type of script this boss was designed with. This coward fails to embody the image of a heroic-grade special dungeon boss he anticipated. Aside from that previous corpse explosion capable of one-shotting top explorers, the Black Goblin Shaman appears unimpressive. As Kaiser momentarily drifts into contemplation, the shaman discreetly realigns its fractured bones. It then moves back, increasing the space and leaving him astonished. Jihad quickly regains confidence, asserting that his retreat was a strategic tactic to lower his guard. A sinister smile creeps onto its face as a black mist, originating from the shaman's unique ability, starts to envelop the surroundings. Kaiser gets a system alert indicating the trait temporarily elevates the boss's rank, but he remains unconcerned. In his view, a heroic rank loser who levels up remains a loser. Nevertheless, he refuses to simply wait for a transformation to complete, particularly since heroic plus monsters often necessitate complete raid teams to defeat. He charges in at full speed, determined to resolve this before it escalates any further. Before the fight, he allocated all his stat points to strength, exceeding 100 in total. Additionally, the warrior set provides extra damage when battling goblin-type creatures, along with an additional advantage against bosses. Jihad Black may be resilient, yet such raw damage disregards any form of durability. With a single, powerful swing, he brings the greatsword down, slicing the goblin shaman cleanly in two. In an instant, the hidden dungeon is completed and noted in his adventurer's tome. As the initial explorer to overcome it, he receives heroic grade rewards. At last, valuable treasures, including the shaman's robe and an orb with its soul. He then spots an unusual object marked as a trace of a forgotten clan, lacking any grade. The description is also unclear, prompting him to recall the unknown dropped items similar to those in Demrock. Setting that aside, he proceeds to the ultimate reward. Upon initial observation, he presumes the unknown monster card provides a stat enhancement or an enchantment. However, upon clicking it, he discovers a heroic grade guardian card that calls forth the goblin shaman to defend the Kaiser's enthusiasm fades immediately. He feels no joy in having an unattractive goblin following him. He envisions something more impressive, such as the dragon or tiger guardians his old teammates showcased. However, he chooses to experiment with it rather than rush to conclusions. Instead of Jihad Black, the shadowy shaman, what emerges is the Jihad Black Pokemon Collector's Edition. The small plush version blinks in bewilderment, gazing up at the same person it once attempted to eliminate, but now Kaiser looms above. Kaiser facepalms at the tiny clown that is meant to be his guardian. The minimum the developers could have achieved was to create an intimidating appearance. Baby Black collapses onto the ground in evident distress, insulted by the idea of catering to a filthy human. Its characteristics aren't particularly encouraging, with Bully the Weak and Opportunist ranking highest. The Guardian begins with extremely low loyalty. This transforms the pesky little gremlin into more of a penalty than a benefit. To add to the frustration, the system cautions him that the small betrayer won't hesitate to betray him if a chance arises. A single look at Jihad's arrogant expression makes Kaiser realize he cannot allow this creature to wander freely. Our child gradually approaches the tiny protector. Observing the imposing figure come closer with purpose, the small imp inquires what a dirty human intends to do with someone of his stature. Kaiser merely blinks. The boldness of this unattractive Pokemon labeling its trainer as filthy is quite remarkable. Jihad suddenly becomes quiet, understanding it might have overstepped. Determining the brain-dead shaman needs prompt adjustment. Kaiser reveals the true essence of the term master via an engaging and practical training experience. Before long, the sharp sounds of rigorous learning resonate throughout the cave, and Jihad's loyalty points gradually increase, lesson by lesson, through hardship. Following that extended gaming session, our main character finally emerges from his man cave. He looks out the window, astonished that the sun is already going down, and feels famished. As a devoted gamer, he goes downstairs to check with his mom about any leftover snacks. Instead, he discovers his sister relaxing on the couch, idly snacking on the final bag of chips. He feels the impulse to label her a loser, but as a fellow loner, he opts for tranquility. He plops down on the couch next to her and inquires about her show. He almost chokes when she mentions she plays Gauss too. It seems to be so fashionable that everyone is playing it now, and she's level 71. Do-Hyen's mind malfunctions at that discovery, because that implies she must have been playing for a long time, but that's not the case. She reached that level in 6 months thanks to a friend who supported her throughout. Intrigued, he inquires whether it truly requires that much time to attain level 70 solo. Unyielding as always, She retorts that progress diminishes when you take breaks to enjoy the outdoors instead of being in a gaming pod for 10 hours daily. Bro is unsure if he should view it as an insult or a compliment. At that moment, the live stream transitions to a news report on the Hero Guild. His sister exclaims that it is the top guild among players her age, nearly matching Mileso in popularity. This is completely illogical to him, as the guild doesn't even rank in the top 10 leaderboards. The guild master rated 10 out of 10 appears on screen. She informs him that it isn't about accomplishments. The guys are simply incredibly attractive. As she nearly swoons over Guild Master Verza, she refers to it as the perfect guild for girls. Do-hyun narrows his eyes at the display. Beyond the individual's standard K-pop e-boy look, he fails to understand the excitement. His sister claims the guy is attractive and impressive. Two descriptors no girl would ever use for her sibling. Annoyed, Do-hyun considers that a daring statement from a firm 6 whose greatest skill is lounging on the couch all night. She mentions that her guild's YouTube channel is enhancing Verza's aura significantly. Do-hyun looks at her in confusion, prompting her to explain that almost every guild broadcasts on YouTube for views, with the major ones often attracting millions. That utterly astonishes him. This suggests they are likely making substantial profits. She nonchalantly states that the individual likely generates $1 billion monthly solely from YouTube. Upon hearing that, Do-hyun's mind goes blank as he figures out how many KFC buckets he could purchase with that amount. Money. Overwhelmed by the charming young man, he retreats to his room and signs in once more to avoid reality. This time, he chooses to capture his gameplay, aiming to snag some impressive clips for himself. Jihad also awakens, happily greeting his master with a good morning. Do-hyun's intense look brings to mind the hands-on education the little goblin overlooked, prompting him to use appropriate honorifics. Jihad begins to sweat, yet Do-hyun chooses to give the shaman a break. He throws the robe to him, providing him with something to wear, as he is unable to put it on himself right now. Instead, in expressing gratitude, the mischievous character betrays loyalty and begins devising schemes to eliminate him for liberation. A tiny reminder of previous suffering, though, swiftly resolves that, and Jihad expresses sincere appreciation for his master's generosity. He subsequently inquires about their strategy. He informs him they have much to accomplish. They relocate to a different section of the lair, where he mercilessly kills all the goblins. Jihad can't help but feel some sympathy for them. Once tidied up, he instructs him to experiment with something different. He commands the goblins, just defeated. The shaman discards all items, and performs a spell that seems far too intense for his silly little face. To everyone's astonishment, it functions, and a red goblin emerges. Jihad reiterates it twice more, affirming that this is the extent of his forces in their present condition. Nonetheless, the concept of an army of the undead intrigues him, as it renders the shaman significantly more valuable than he anticipated. The shaman begins commanding his resurrected subjects without seeking approval, entirely disregarding his master. When he inquires about their actions, Jihad happily clarifies that he doesn't have to transport all the loot with them. The mischievous troublemaker starts demanding labor from the moment he frees the servants, irritating him. He informs Jihad of his intention to farm elite monsters once he reaches level 2. Jihad catches him off guard, nonchalantly stating that he's aware of the elites' meeting spots. It seems they are so lethargic that they essentially remain in one spot most of the time. Upon hearing that, our boy beams broadly as a fantastic idea strikes him. Upon learning that elite mobs are foolish enough to gather in one location, Kaiser devised a strategy. Thanks to Jihad, he navigated the forest and found the perfect spot for hunting. They discovered a camp of creatures similar to goblins, yet slightly more human-like. Jihad checked with his master to confirm if this was what they sought. A twisted grin spread across Kaiser's face at the sight of the camp. Discovering this campsite initiated the unexpected quest, Warrior's Trial. Completing the quest could earn him 100 gold, a bit of skill experience, and 1 intermediate skill draw ticket. If gacha tickets are at stake, you can be sure this man will put in maximum effort to secure them. Without delaying any further in the 48-hour time frame, he rushed into the camp, drawing the attention of the elite mobs to him. There was no reason to be covert. He'll simply go all out. The elite mob didn't hesitate and swiftly raised their weapons. He avoided the initial strike with flawless timing. Kaiser struck from above, utilizing his angular momentum. His mighty sword remains sheathed. He struck the monster's grotesque face with a powerful knee, delivering a crushing blow. He shattered numerous teeth and distorted the unfortunate mob's nose. Reflecting, Kaiser shifted his focus to the remainder of the camp. This time, he effortlessly called forth his stolen dagger from his inventory. With a single use of vital thrust, he swiftly tore through the vitals of 3 monsters in succession. Attacks that caused non-lethal damage inflicted a severe bleeding status effect. Within moments, he diminished the elite mob camp significantly to merely one frantic creature. Kaiser defended himself with his dagger, testing his strength against the monster's blade skills. The creature was surprised when a complete strike was blocked by a small weapon. With a wide stance, he delivered a solid kick to the monster's gut, knocking the breath from the unfortunate guy's lungs. To conclude his unexpected attack, he grabbed his primary weapon. He wielded the crimson greatsword to its fullest, forcing the beast to emit its last battle roar. Kaiser cut that unfortunate individual in 2 without any sign of opposition. From his first attack to the ultimate kill, he needed just a few seconds to taint the camp with blood and complete the task. Jihad observed from a secure distance as his ruthless master effortlessly eliminated an elite mob squad without any struggle. He sensed the terrifying nature of this man in the western forest. He couldn't be deemed human. It would be more appropriate to label him a demon, the embodiment of the devil himself. Kaiser drove his blade into the earth and broadened his awareness outward. Now, with the warriors no longer a concern, the next danger is expected to emerge at any moment. As anticipated, the concealed field boss, Goblin Great Warrior Karuk, charged out from the forest. His abrupt journey instantly connected to a heightened one. The Trial of the Legendary Warrior. Karuk is a distinguished elite hidden field boss, renowned for his body enhancement and berserker abilities. An average player would have been terrified by this mob, but all Kaiser perceived was merely a mobile bag of loot. He seized his great sword and rushed forward. Advanced to encounter the concealed. Midway through field boss, Jihad attempted to caution him that tackling a field boss of this magnitude alone could be overwhelming, but his master disregarded the advice. Karuk's frigid war axe carried a merciless blow. The instant his mighty sword would break apart. Considering this information, Kaiser steered clear of confrontation, showcasing a terrifying level of sword skill. Karuk felt bewildered and disoriented since he couldn't conclude the battle with a single strike. Likewise, Jihad was perplexed. In a split second before the war axe could break his weapon, Kaiser adjusted the angle of his great sword, preserving his valuable gear. He raised his head and shot a mocking look at the large goblin. It worked wonders. Karuk hoisted the axe over his head, ready for round 2. Kaiser, at a significantly closer distance, neutralized the goblin's icy weapon's momentum. They kept fighting without any elaborate footwork or movement, remaining stationary as they exchanged blows relentlessly. Each hit landed with equal force as they battled it out. In his century-long life, Jihad had never encountered anything like it. Kaiser avoided being sliced or obliterated thanks to his flawless parrying technique. With sheer skill, he effortlessly neutralized every attack before they could inflict damage. Parrying an attack can be a potent yet hazardous move. If your timing is slightly incorrect, it will not succeed. One of the rare defensive techniques available to a swordsman. Many players employ it to control expected normal enemies. When the circumstances align and the user possesses sufficient skill, a basic parry can counter legendary abilities effectively. Because of its poor success rate and difficulty of use, nearly no swordsman employs it in actual combat. Kaiser fortunately obtained this high-risk, high-reward skill from a low-tier gacha pull. After the cooldown for Ruthless Strike ended, Karuk executed yet another transformative swing. This time, Kaiser allowed the field boss to make contact with nothing but the ground and suddenly appeared behind the foolish goblin. When Karuk felt him approaching from his side, Kaiser was already celebrating with a smug grin. Jihad observed his master effortlessly defeat a boss that typically required several players to take down successfully. In a display of total annihilation, a sweeping crescent strike decapitated the massive brute. The concealed field boss, Goblin Great Warrior Karuk, was defeated. Kaiser finished the trial of the formidable warrior, and the accomplishment was noted in his adventure log. He received 200 gold, a significant amount of experience points, and 2 intermediate skill draw tickets. Kaiser had no interest in the other prizes. His attention was instantly captured by the gacha tickets, and he rejoiced, like a primitive man who just found fire. Whenever he saw his master perform that caveman dance, Jihad felt a wave of embarrassment. In the heat of battle, this man behaves like a demon, ruthlessly destroying anything that stands in his way. Yet when it's his turn to draw a card, he transforms into the most foolish-looking person imaginable. This is the reality of a gambling addict's existence. He swiftly accessed the tickets and clicked the use button in no time. Dopamine surged through his mind as countless potential skills unfolded before him. The initial card granted him a unique martial arts technique, the Ascending Dragon Kick. The second card retrieved a rare skill from the buffer class known as Striking, which was a significant advantage. Striking is an essential ability for buffers. It lasts for 40 seconds and has a cooldown of 40 seconds, ensuring a 100% uptime of an additional 40 physical attack. It effectively transforms an ordinary sword of the same tier into one that strikes with the power of a great sword, minus the downsides. He truly struck gold today. This talent matched him so well it brought him to tears. A self-buffing DPS is a fantasy come true for solo gameplay. The Ascending Dragon Kick was merely the cherry on top. He had always desired this skill simply because it looks incredibly awesome. Moreover, the concealed field boss yielded Karuk's red leather top and bottom, both classified as hero-grade items. He also acquired Karuk's rare plus red and blue leather shoulders along with Karuk's essence ring, a hero-grade accessory. Kaiser is finally ready to graduate from his annoying goblin set for a significant upgrade. He fitted Karuk's complete reed and blue Great Warrior ensemble. The set options provide a 10% boost to slam attack range, a 6.5% enhancement in melee damage, and a +4 increase across all stats. Sporting a full set in 2 contrasting colors was certainly a visual enhancement. Jihad praised his master and acknowledged that Kaiser can indeed be quite frightening sometimes. He viewed his servant's fear as another form of praise. At times, he frightens himself with how provoked he feels. Kaiser reveled in his self-centered triumph. Jihad dismisses any chance of engaging in a genuine dialogue with the man. The gloating was cut short by a notification indicating the little goblin's loyalty had dropped by 1 point. That the little brat insulted him without realizing it. Kaiser brandished his bastard sword at the small man and warned Jihad to stay put if he wished to keep on living. Fortunately, fear served as a powerful catalyst for loyalty in the context of Jihad. Having achieved his goal, there's nothing left to accomplish in this gloomy forest. It's time to leave. Although he recently defeated a concealed field boss, Mr. Rank 1 remained eager to pursue another stash of treasure. He has already scored one. He might as well continue the kill streak. However, before reaching the next city, Kaiser must first complete the continent's trial. Interestingly, the trial involves a field boss battle against Spider Queen Eliza to achieve level 24. The Spider Queen appears in the Western Forest. Similar to other field bosses, her lair's entrance is perpetually crowded with players seeking their fortune. At present, a fair crowd has assembled for the upcoming spawn in roughly 10 minutes. They've learned that the previous spawn location was the Eastern Web. It's possible that the Queen may follow the same pattern again, but nothing is certain. The boss might emerge from the north or the west, as no one can tell. Just as the battle for the Queen began, Kaiser arrived at the web-covered den. He inquired of his bald-ass goblin whether he was aware of the exact spawn point. Jihad, referred to as the Spider Queen, he's unfamiliar with this new generation monster. Kaiser felt somewhat let down. He believed the little fellow was well acquainted with the forest. In the end, Kaiser found himself in the same guessing game as the others. If she spawns, he can simply use backstab to bridge the distance. Fortunately, his Slayer trait was triggered, providing him an unjust edge over all others. The trait truly unveiled the Spider Queen Eliza's spawn location within his thoughts. Was an unexpected delight, yet somewhat strange. To his knowledge, he hadn't earned the Slayer title for spider-like creatures. Is it possible that Slayer activates for bosses he hasn't defeated yet? If it triggers for any boss monster, then the trait must be incredibly overpowered. He will have to try it several more times down the line. The sole focus at this moment is the field boss he is about to slay. Currently, his setup is specifically designed to dominate as many field bosses as he can. As soon as the 10-minute spawn timer expired, Kaiser disappeared, leaving the other players behind. He moved himself straight behind the furry dump truck of Spider Queen Eliza. In the isolated depths of the shadowy cave, he has ample room to unleash his abilities. The synergy of his Slayer trait and backstab proved to be overwhelmingly powerful. Jihad traveled with him. The small creature remains amazed by all of his master's antics. Standing before Spider Queen Eliza, who had just become aware of his presence, he was taken aback by the enormous size of the field boss. The colossal spider bellowed her name like a Pokemon as she rushed toward the solitary player. Kaiser quickly moved back to avoid her as he gauged his opponent. After gaining sufficient distance, he executed backstab and disappeared without a trace. The Spider Queen was slightly delayed in pivoting to protect herself. Kaiser has discovered the ideal training partner for his new Ascending Dragon kick. His set option effect amplified the damage significantly, inflicting 6% additional damage. More significantly, he was correct. It undeniably appeared incredibly stylish. He inflicted an outrageous level of damage that caused all of Eliza's eyes to weep in agony. Someone get this man a blindfold and name him Lee Sin. That one kick caused damage comparable to a supreme ability. It propelled the Spider Queen through the cave, crashing face-first into the ground. Unyielding, Kaiser unsheathed his bastard sword and charged ahead. Eliza had endured significant harm, making her recovery challenging. She was unable to move because of the initial injury. She merely stood still while Kaiser sliced her into pieces like fresh meat. Lacking a kill notification, he continued the unrelenting attack, increasing his speed to an entirely new level. Kaiser enhanced his offensive strength significantly through his exceptional striking abilities. The surge in strength was evident. His presence seemed more imposing and menacing. All remnants of the Spider Queen's fury transformed into terror as she sensed a familiar power surging within her assailant. Kaiser invoked a larger and more formidable dragon construct by executing the Ascending Dragon kick. He struck her head with his foot, aiming to turn the giant monster's brain to mush. Eliza vomited foul bile as her hopes for survival vanished completely. The power of his foot trembled the earth and the entire cavern network. Jihad crouched behind a boulder, maintaining a safe distance. He felt pity for the creatures his master encountered today. At her breaking point, the Spider Queen gazed at Kaiser with desperate eyes. He's becoming increasingly irritated by the spider's incessant repetition of the name Eliza, like a stuck record. With the battle nearly finished, his sadistic impulses emerged. He sheathed his weapons, opting for bare-fisted combat instead. Although she may not comprehend human language, the Spider Queen could feel that she's about to face significant pain. Jihad heard the impact of bare fists striking the creature's flesh. His master's brutality left him with PTSD. He was familiar with the pain inflicted by those hands. Kaiser's fists unleashed a flurry of punches each second, consistently reducing the spider's HP. Listening to her repeatedly shout Eliza's name, Jihad recalled having heard that name previously. It sparked his memory. Upon understanding, he rushed to the battlefield and anxiously pleaded with his master to cease the punishment. He risked incurring Kaiser's anger and pleaded with the man to Kaiser. Was not a cold-hearted beast. He listened to his goblin's plea and moved aside. Jihad rushed to Eliza, his eyes filled with tears, pleading for her to open her eyes. Struggling to focus on the small goblin, the Spider Queen found it difficult to identify Jihad. He lowered his cloak to reveal his bald head, hoping to jog her memory. Upon realizing who stood before her, tears of relief cascaded down the giant spider's face. These two leaders share a history that goes back 150 years. She was just a small and adorable girl back then, often repeating her name, Eliza. Jihad had never encountered a spider species that matched her description previously. On impulse, he invited the spider to accompany him on his adventures, and she quickly agreed. Eliza supported him through numerous nights of research and trials. Jihad thought Eliza sounded a bit ordinary, so he decided to add an E to the beginning of her name. Eliza felt immense joy upon receiving a new nickname from her goblin companion. At first, she found it difficult to say her complete name, so Jihad decided to call her Eliza instead. One day, he had to head to a location that was not safe for a vulnerable little spider. It was perilous for him, much less for his tiny companion. Before departing, he assured her he would return quickly. Eliza remained in place, steadfastly waiting for her friend. She stayed motionless for what felt like an eternity, yet he did not come back. Days passed and the moon diminished. From dawn until dusk, she held on. A year went by and she waited. 10 years passed as she remained hopeful. A century passed, and she remained in anticipation. Eliza continued to hope for a day that would never arrive, a vow that would never be realized. The cabin she once considered home gradually became tired from the flow of time. It ultimately fell apart, prompting young Eliza to journey into the western forest. After over 100 years of merely waiting, she fortified her determination and journeyed to the spot where she first encountered her friend. She continuously recited the name Jihad had given her to ensure it remained etched in her memory. 150 years later, Jihad and young Eliza are finally together again. Their sizes have switched, but memories endure. Upon listening to the goblin's tale, all Kaiser grasped was that Jihad was a worthless scoundrel who left Eliza behind. The bald-ass goblin briefly raised his head to glance at his master. He then wept for his dearly missed friend. This reunion prompts a straightforward question. Jihad was absent for not just 1 or 2 years, but for a century and a half. What was the reason behind this? Jihad genuinely cannot disclose the reason. It is currently beyond his capacity to explain. Kaiser was not satisfied with his unclear reply. Nevertheless, the little goblin could only express regret for being unable to share certain secrets. Recognizing Jihad's sincerity, the master chose not to press him. Having listened to the disheartening tale of the Spider Queen, Kaiser felt uncertain about his next steps. His graduation task was to eliminate Eliza, and he couldn't simply bypass a crucial mission and hinder his advancement. Fortunately, it appears that Eliza has a solution to assist. She animatedly shared her knowledge with Jihad in monster tongue. Upon hearing her proposal, Jihad dismissed the notion entirely. Kaiser was curious about the conversation between the two individuals, and Jihad translated with hesitation. Essentially, the Spider Queen instructed Jihad that the human should simply stab her.